Hi, I'm Willie Crosby from Fungi Ally. We just completed a year-long SARE grant where we were working with 3 different vegetable farms growing mushrooms outdoors, and then selling those mushrooms through their existing sales channels. In this video, I want to share the important environmental factors to growing mushrooms outdoors and look at these 3 unique farms and how they achieved those environmental conditions. The 2 important factors to consider when you're growing mushrooms outdoors are shade and humidity. Now, it's pretty simple to keep the mushrooms in conditions they like outdoors. Really what you need for shade is either growing under the canopy of a forest or adding shade cloth to the structure that you're growing in. And for humidity, you want to add water through watering each day or misters, or just grow in a really ideal place like next to a stream or a river. Now let's check out each farm one by one and see how they achieve these environmental conditions. The first farm is Beach Hill Farm, located in Acadia, Maine. They have an ideal location for humidity because it's on an island. So each morning, a lot of times they'll have dew come in and kind of get the mushrooms to a great humidity level. What they decide to do is grow in a low tunnel really close to where they walk every day. The mushrooms grow really fast, so it's really helpful to have them where you can check on them very easily. So they built a low tunnel and covered the low tunnel with shade cloth, then covered that shade cloth with reemay to keep out any insects. Each morning, when the mushrooms were first starting to fruit, they would water the mushrooms down to increase the humidity, but otherwise, the natural humidity on the island was adequate for the mushrooms to fruit, particularly in the fall. The second farm is Uptop Acres in Washington, D.C. They provide a unique challenge because they fruit on top of buildings, where it's pretty windy and things dry out quickly. The first time that we started growing up there, we just found a shady area and put the blocks right on some concrete. And then we're watering them once in the morning to try and keep them humid. But the wind that would come through dried them out pretty quickly. So the next fruiting, we tried fruiting them in the shade in an enclosed shelf. So we wrapped a 6-tier shelf in plastic and put the blocks on top of those and had misting to keep the blocks wet throughout the day. This proved to be a pretty effective strategy and allowed mushrooms to be fruited relatively well in this outdoor setting. The third farm was Natural Roots in Conway, Massachusetts. They used to grow shiitakes on logs, so had an ideal setup for growing outdoors. They had an old stock tank that they had been soaking the logs in, and we turned that upside down and fruited the mushrooms right on that stock tank. It was under the canopy of the forest, pines, and it was right next to a river, so there was good shade and good humidity. So through working with these 3 farms, what we found is that most farms have a great place for growing mushrooms. Anytime from April through November, temperatures are really good for fruiting outdoors. Particularly in April and May and September and October, really high quality mushrooms can be cultivated. Shade can be achieved by growing in an accessible space under the canopy of the forest or by adding shade cloth to a low tunnel. And it's really important to be somewhere that you access and that you're going to visit and monitor the mushrooms. As long as you have a water source and can water the mushrooms once a day or 2 times a day, or even set up an automatic sprinkler, you should be all set with humidity. If you're interested and want to learn more about this project, check out a couple of our other videos that we have, or pop over to our website and look at the handout that we made summarizing this project.